Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. Today, I want to look at or touch base with the work I've been doing for gambling. So, I haven't been on very much lately, and it's more sporadic because I'm involved not only with client work, which has been rather good lately, but also this research that I'm doing for the gambling is really a very time consuming project. And I have already made a commitment to lecture on this work in August of next year for the Kepler Uranian group. So I have a lot of work to do in the next year, but I thought what I would do is periodically come on here from time to time and update you on my research. So today what I'm going to do is two things that are rather exciting. The first thing is I'm going to show you some new software. We're going to be looking at Gary Christian's Nova chart wheels. And I really want to give kudos to Gary. This is probably one of the most excellent programs I've ever seen used in astrology. The irony is that I'm an asteroid astrologer, and of course Gary is not, but he doesn't know how much this software can help those of us who do use the asteroids. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to show you that software is actually active software. So you think of software like Janus or SolarFire, and they're considered more static software. So I think we'll be able to see the difference. It's pretty obvious. And again, hats off and all credit goes to Gary Christian and the other members of his team that worked to pull together, because I'm sure it wasn't only him. I think he worked with a group of people to create this software, which is actually still in progress. So that's exciting. The second thing that I'm going to do is just really briefly, when you're looking, and I know I did a chart on gambling already where I talked about the houses that were important. So just a little review: the second house, the fifth house, because the fifth house is the house of gambling. The second house, of course, because it's the house of money and worth. The eighth house, because again, money, worth, and other people's money. And the 11th house for the goals. So those are like the four most important houses. So today I'm going to get into the asteroids. And I'll list them off for you. I'm not going to be able to place them other than where they're located. Okay, now what I would be doing in the future, I didn't do it today, would be printing these charts and then writing in, which I often do even with SolarFire. But because I was so excited about the software, I decided just to put the points, tell you the points, and then we'll look at them. Okay? I think that's a great way just to get started because I really need for you to see how wonderful the software is. So with that, we are going to, again, talk about some of the rules. Okay? I've been reading a couple of books on the gambling. As a matter of fact, one of the books that I'm involved in right now is the Astrologer's Handbook to Gambling, which is by Evelyn M. Nagle, and it's an AFA book. I don't know if you can see it pretty well there. There it is. Okay. Now the other book that I'm working with, yes, there are two, and actually hopefully more, but I can't really find a whole lot, which is rather interesting. So the second book, let me grab it, is actually on my fire, and it's called Gambling, Luck and Astrology, and it's by, I'll tell you in a second, it's hard to show you because I'm in the book so it doesn't stay on its page. Maximum is the man's name. Last name is Maximum. So that book is rather easy to read. He doesn't go into really great depths of astrology. He does talk about the minor aspects, but only in terms of that they aid the bigger aspects. So the thing that he talks about the most, and I do want to point this out because I think it's very important, is trines. He actually, and I'll get into Evelyn at another time because she does it a little different. He actually works a lot with trines as they are coming into being. Once they hit, then they're not any good anymore. So he's all about leading up to the exact trines. He talks a great deal about grand trines. He talks about how we want to look for the trines. But one of the great things that I really liked about his book was he talks about, especially for me, people who can and can't gamble. Okay. Now, it's not to say me, who should never gamble, because I actually have T squares in my chart, natally. T squares bad, all squares bad. But he did point out that I still have a Venus-Jupiter midpoint, although they square in my chart. But still, he did talk about how there's Jupiter-Uranus midpoints, and the midpoints can also offset some of the more difficult charts. So it refers to transiting planets as much as it refers to the natal planets. And what he's looking at is transiting planets that will trine, I want to say align themselves, but trine those natal planets. And even the trines in the sky, if you could get a grand trine together between what is trining in the sky and then something that's trining in your chart. Now, when I use the word something, let me get to my notes here, realize that something is not every planet. Okay, let's start off with that. So the planets that are really important would be Venus and Jupiter, which is, I think, brain dead. You know, of course it is, Venus and Jupiter. The Sun, the Earth, and heliocentric. And one of the things that he talks about is looking at both the heliocentric and the geocentric charts, because he talks about a time when he saw this wonderful trine in his geocentric chart, runs out to gamble, doesn't win, only to find that he has a square in the heliocentric chart. So that is very important. Pluto is important. Uranus is important. Okay. Mars is actually kind of neutral. Mercury can be positive for winning money, but some people see it as neutral. So I just want to throw that up there. Mars he sees as neutral. Moon he sees as a trigger. And Saturn is negative, except when involved in a trine. So here we go with the trine concept again. Chiron is only involved through aspect. So, you know, it's the turning point asteroid. And so I'm not surprised he uses it. Also, he uses Pluto because it's positive for money making and it deals with the rules of gambling, whereas Venus is the rules of money. And Venus rules success in all forms. So you see how it works. Mercury, the reason why he uses it, and some don't, and I agree with him, and I'll show you a chart why. Because it's rules of the game. And I think that that's really important for us to be aware of. The Sun, of course, is the self. Okay? Uranus, because it rules change, revolution, and surprises. But believe it or not, it can be both positive and negative. So you really want to watch all aspects, including the minor ones on that Uranus. As I said, don't negative Neptune, and I've actually advised somebody recently on this. I also don't like to see Saturn as a ruler, particularly of the fifth chart, the fifth house of the chart. So I think that explains the planets. So we're not, as you can see, we're not using any of them, okay? This is what's so interesting. And again, I'm going to maximum. In his astrology findings, he finds that not only is the trine the most positive, even over conjunctions, but he finds that the square is more negative than the opposition. Very interesting. And I can see the square being more negative because, believe it or not, a square is active. I think that's really important to this, okay? And he does talk about how A yod can be very positive, and it might be something you want to look for. And orbs are very close, 5 to 20 minutes before the exact time. So in other words, you're really still getting a conjunction, but it's not really the conjunction. It's moving into the connection or that conjunction. And that's the trine as well, to the absolute connection of that trine. So my language here. Aspects only work when applying. Separating, not so much. Okay, so there's a little bit of the rules, but one of the things that I want to highlight in this particular session is I'm going to be talking about a specific chart in the natal concept. And what I decided to use with a chart of somebody who actually really does gamble on a very regular basis. I do not. I have a call out right now and I want to thank some people who've already handed in winners to me, people they know that have won. I am also researching charts, and I do know a couple gamblers, so I'm trying to gather their chart information because I'm not a gambler. Even when I gamble, I'm not a gambler. People hear how I gamble and they say, "You're not a gambler." No, I'm not. I have grand crosses and T-squares in my chart. No. And my T-squares involve Jupiter and Venus and Uranus. No, I'm not going to gamble. I'm always too cautious to gamble. Thankfully, I had parents who gambled, and my mother taught me the right way to gamble, which is really not to take chances in some respect. But in any case, please be aware that everybody can study gambling, and you can find out when your moments are for big wins. I'm actually doing that with this particular chart, who has some really positive things going to be going on in January of 24, and then again big in April of 24. So one of the things that we can all do, and I can even do with my own chart, is I can look at this really bad chart and know that there are certain times when even I might be able to be lucky. Now, would I be lucky to the extent of some of these people who really gamble? I'm not sure, because where my T-squares are. But I can honestly share with you that as a person who doesn't really gamble, but has gambled, I'm around gamblers, been around gamblers my whole life, I can tell you that I win. No, not a lot. But I rarely leave with less money than I came with. As a matter of fact, I have a gambling fund that's based on winnings, okay? But the most I might win at anything is, I think I won $1,500 once in a book signing, where a lot of people sign, and then somebody's name gets drawn, and I actually got chosen. And then in gambling, when we're talking slots, the most I've ever won is like $600. And I'm the type of person that when I win that $600, I quit, go back, play the poker machines that only cost a quarter, and ironically won at that as well. So, but only a couple dollars, because I am not really a gambler. However, I'm going to now show you the chart of someone who is a gambler. And I'm going to show you some of the really decisive markers that he has in his chart that I don't have. Let's just say that. Okay? So, and I want to do this for all gamblers. I would love to take this list of asteroids. So before I get to the chart and that awesome software, which is really the second half of why I'm showing this video today, is I want to go through the list, and I'm going to do them first in alphabetical order, okay? So this is just a list. We have banks. That's big money. We have check. Maybe a little smaller. Coin, a little smaller. Dolaro. Duke. Okay, for taking risks, we have Icarus. For maybe losing, we have Lax. Midas, for some big money. Money, for any kind of money. The asteroid not for things that just won't work. And boy, does that work. Payo for things that pay out. Plunge for taking a risk. Price, the price. Risk, it's obvious. Anyone who gambles takes risks. Rockefeller, big money. Victoria, and my favorite, and the one we're going to start with today, win. So let's have a look at this chart. I think it's going to be surprising. Okay, didn't think my computer was working at first, but yes, I got it working. Okay, so I have, as you can see, new software, and I'm going to show you little things about the software because this is the other reason why I'm checking in today. I'm just so excited about Gary's software, and I'm so happy that I own it. And it is by Astrolab, and Gary's also one of the Solar Fire people. So that's where you would get this. You would go to A Lab, or I think it's A Lab, but it's Astrolab in Massachusetts. In any case, where I have the pointer right now is on Mercury. You think. Actually, it's on win. Yes, this particular person has win within 11 minutes of Mercury. And I've never seen anything like this person. This person is the type of person that will say you're just playing a game of Yahtzee. And he would say, Yahtzee! And Yahtzee would show up. Unbelievable. But what I also want to point out, now I'm looking at a 360 dial here, and again, I'm going to show you a little bit more about this particular astrology software. I took the place where this particular person lives, and I'm going to put in the transits. And I want to show you, even by transits, this person is having he's not just winning right now, he's actually selling a building, and he's made quite a profit. So you see the node Jupiter, and the midheavens there. These are the transits. And this is one of the things that I wanted to show you on this dial. Now, realize that across the dial in the exact opposite location, which means on the 90-degree dial, which I'll get to in a second, but I wanted to show the software, is the asteroid plunge. So this is somebody who takes a risk because mentally they are connected to winning. This person, yes, he loses to one of the reasons why he's very eager for me to do this research, and he is probably one of my biggest pushers to do this work, is because he doesn't do astrology, is because he really wants me, the astrologer, to really look at this in terms of astrology to figure out when the bigger wins are. And I have seen this person have weeks where they just win. Now, not great deals of money, no. But I always like to say that I really do feel he's one of those people that comes out equal more often than not, meaning he might lose money this week, but next week he'll probably make it up. And I have seen that. So I can say this is a real gambler because he takes the plunge and he has win on Mercury. He is also somebody who knows the rules of all the games. I've thought that, I am learning Texas Hold'em through him. I've learned how not just to play poker with him, but he's taught me a lot about roulette. He's taught me a little bit about craps. So this person, there we are, Mercury, the rules of the game. He is somebody who understands the rules of the game, that he actually is somebody who teaches other people how to work in a casino, Texas Hold'em particularly. So this is a really, really interesting thing. So I wanted to point that out because that is, in my opinion, his most outstanding point. Okay, and I wanted to show it on the 360 dial because I wanted to also show that right now he has a node Jupiter on that win, and he is involved right now in the selling of a building. Ironically, Mars Chiron is also talking about how this is also part of initiating big changes in his life. This is somebody who's been a landlord forever and is now retiring. So selling these buildings is a part of the retirement process. So, and Uranus, Saturn, Saturn's pretty far away here, the transiting Saturn. But again, just kind of marking that change. It's probably will come and hit this point. I think the transits, or do the transits go this way? Either this has just happened or this is where I'm not good, okay? But let me show you because I can answer my own question. So up here, we have a time increment. And this is what I mean by this is, so we have hours, we have days. Let's do 1 day, okay? There's 1 day. And now what I'm going to do is use this arrow. I don't see where that Saturn goes. Is it coming to it? Wait, it's not moving. Okay. But did you see all the red lines? Here we go. Pluto, Saturn. And the date, the 17th. Yeah, it's also going through something medically. But it's interesting look at how we could follow our transits. Okay? We can do the same when we add in the progressions. Now look how it looks, all right? But if you're somebody who's going through something, this could be just an eye-opening situation for you because you could see how that it's progressed. It's that Mars Chiron, but I like, now he did talk about how there's these really long tails and he is still working that out. So let me go back. I want to show you something that I saw on the chart initially. See, all I do is push back the buttons and it all goes away. When I look at this, I want to point out that Venus is there. So that's another clue that this person's winning works on his behalf because not only does he have a node Jupiter on it, he also has a Venus in it because of that dot. Those are, what does he call them, semi-squares? Or I just look at the dots. So I'm just getting to know what everything is. Look at Uranus. Things happen suddenly for him. They sure do. This is the chart of a gambler who can win. Now, with that said, and I pointed out to you the most obvious points on the chart, let's go to the 90-degree dial and we'll start looking at the rest of them. Isn't this a great piece of software here? Okay, so, and we've been working with Mercury. I'm going to go back. Actually, let's just look at that. For people who like work a lot with the Aries point, look at that. So you can also see a chart in the Aries point. It's interesting, sudden stoppage. I can tell you right now that has a lot to do with physical accidents. And the person is incredibly strong, but sometimes when people are really, really strong, they hurt themselves. As you can see, the sun is there, Mars is there, volcanoes. This is an extremely physically strong person, even when they're hurt, even when they're in pain. You can also see that Neptune is there, Apollon. Okay, so no, actually Apollon is with the moon. So let me take that back. See, this is Apollon right here. So what we want to do is we want to go to Apollon. And then you get ascendant midheaven and the moon. And this person was a landlord. This was a fifth house type thing, which you can barely see on this chart. And also I'm using equal houses now, so when I'm on this chart. So what a fascinating piece of software. I keep going back to that. Okay, so here we are. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a few of those points. We already spoke about Mercury and when is here, but so is plunge. Okay, so right away. Okay, then you've got up in the Capricorn areas, and that's over here at 13 degrees. So you'd literally have to come to 13. There's 22. So, geez, isn't that funny? Right there is Banks. So I didn't even notice that until I put it on a 90-degree dial. That is really, really interesting. Wait a minute, I can't be right, but maybe it is. 5, 10, 15. Whoa, it's 1 degree past. It's unbelievable. I just didn't look right, did I? Okay. We also have something at 6 degrees. Okay, so right here, not far from Jupiter. Do you see how good this chart is? I mean, really good. Okay, very close. We have Midas. Midas. This person has made money in their lifetime too, by the way. So then we go to the fixed signs, and we've got at 6 degrees. So here's here we are. Okay, and we have at 6 degrees. So we've got 5 degrees, 6 degrees. Something just passed it by progression. That is where Peyo is. And I don't see a lot there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Price is at the Aries point, which would be right here. So about 2 degrees away from Neptune, but not far. So I would almost say between the Mars and Maybe that's why he made money. Okay, I'm not going to say much about that. 16 degrees is Mars. And his Mars is at 16 degrees. So we've got Price and Mars very close together. Literally, I'm going to go with a degree in 6 minutes. Victoria is at 26 degrees, so about here. And again, if you go to these spots, you're going to be, look at that. Now you got Jupiter, Poseidon. So a lot of times he does get victory through his knowledge. Look at Sun and Moon connect there, okay? I mean, everything, there's a lot of stuff there. So all you would have to do is look up these points, and then you could put them in your own chart and see what pretty pictures they make. And it makes me think that I want to go here, because it's not far from the midheaven either. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. I want to go to 6. So 6 would be, I think it's here. See, the whole dial moves, which Jupiter, big wins. Oh yeah, this I told you this guy was good. Okay, this is a gambler, people. Okay, I can't stress it enough. Okay, and nothing I could do would ever make this person not gamble. Though I will tell you that recently I've said, please lay off, because I don't think it's good this particular week. And he has, so he is listening. I think he had to lose a couple times first, though. Funny stuff. Anyway, so let's move on. Okay, so we got through that. In the mutables, we got risk at 15 degrees. So let me go back to the Aries point. It's really hard for me to see. Again, new software. So we have, here we go, 10, 15 degrees, not far from Chiron. Okay, there we go. There's that Neptune, Poseidon. Okay, and that's at risk. All right, he is a risk taker, so I really do want to point that out. About 26 degrees. Let me go back so I get it right. Right next to the moon. That's right. Actually, it's with the moon. The moon is right in there. That is the moon. So there you have it. That's a 26, 27, and that is the moon. There it is. Then we go back to lax, which is retrograde. Okay, this is not somebody who lacks. Let me go back. This is not somebody who lacks, in my opinion, in any way. Moon sign, Pluto, Mercury. Okay, look at that Mercury with the wind. Every time I look at something in his chart, I'm just like flipped out. I got to go back because I don't want to mess this up. And there we are for this one. Okay. Not really, not a lot of pictures on that particular, and it's also retrograde. Shocking that he wouldn't have anything there. Let me go back again, and we're going to here for the next one. And again, I don't see a lot. It's interesting. These are the retrograde ones, and they're not real big in his chart, though it is Duke, and his father did do well in life, so it's not far from Cupido. Plunge is, as I told you, it's with Mercury, it's with everything there. Rockefeller goes back, here we go, Colleen has to go back for that, to here. So I'm giving you rough spots here. Okay, and that's big money. And I don't really, it's retrograde. So I just love the way he got nothing on the retrogrades. That is not going to be true for most of us, okay? That is not going to be true. So let's look at coin next at 18. So 18 right here. Oh my. And now we got Chronos, Zeus, and that is coin. He can be productive, by the way. Zeus. I always think of Zeus as productive. And I like the way it's with Chronos, because I do think that, you know, when he knows his stuff, you know, he does make out well. The last one, we can look at Icarus at 2916. I think I even know where that is, but I'm just going to go back because I think it's, so we're going to look right in here. We're going to go right there. And look at it, pulls in Apollon and the midheaven, and he is a risk taker, people. I mean, he really is. And needless to say, this is not retrograde. We're out of those already. Dolero, last one I want to look at. Literally is there with Apollon and the moon and midheaven, Saturn ascendant, okay? So, you know, he takes responsibility, but it's just really interesting. He's very responsible with money. One of the things I like about this particular person is the fiscal responsibility. This is definitely somebody I would take advice from. Actually, I do take advice from him. So, this chart and this software is such a wonderful addition here. So you can take out what you don't use, you can put in what you use. I just took out the trans-Neptunians. If you want to go back to just plain planets, I like to use as much as possible. When I'm doing work, I will often throw in not just the transits, but also the progressions. I'm not somebody who's afraid of reading a lot on a chart, though. Some people really get bugged out when there's too much information on a chart. I get that. I've literally had people tell me to take stuff off of charts because it was too hard for the visibility. And look at Sun, Venus right now for this person, between transits and progressions, right off the moon. Yes, there's definitely a house being sold, and there's money being made on it. We're not having to move. I was so worried about that this year, because this is my partner. So with that said, I want to keep this short, as I'm trying to keep them all short now. And I hope that there was something that you learned from this. And I hope at the very least that you have some interest in Nova chart wheels. So if you're particularly a Uranian astrologer, because one of the things that this does, look at this, is it will actually give you, the red is the strongest, and then the blue, and then the black. And it gives you all of the planetary pictures. It will do sums. This is midpoints. So this is one of the most incredible interactive softwares. I still do not know how to use it. That's why I've been really hesitant to do any videos on it. I ask Gary questions all the time. But here's a transiting well-being, joy about something. Yes, he is in that. Here's all progressions, the ability of the brain. Okay, the active woman is a man, but excuse me. although I'm working for him at this point. But it gives you, you know, solar arcs. It gives you all kinds of information. And I honestly can't say enough about this program, and I haven't even really learned it yet. So, again, thank you for watching the video, and I hope that it was informative, as this is, after all, an educational YouTube channel. With that said, until we meet again, I wish you all only happy reading.